Hi there, and welcome to yet another Arcane video. I just can't seem to stop being inspired by the show. And certain characters. The more you dig, the more you find. And this time, my digging has led to something that has so far left me a little confused. Did Vi and Caitlyn actually make a plan after their cuddle in bed? Because though they go together, it is unclear what they hope to achieve at the meeting, and how. To find out, I'll analyse the council scene itself, but first I will try to divulge what Caitlyn and Vi respectively hope to achieve in the meeting by looking at their goals in general. To begin with, Caitlyn's bucket list in life consists primarily of 4 things. 1. Free herself from the restraints of her parents, her mother in particular, and high society in general. 2. Make a difference in the world, prove her own self-worth, make something for herself on her own merits, not her social rank or parentage. She wants to break the mold and pay it forward. 3. Help those that are downtrodden or poor, not the privileged people she has grown up with. 4. Solve the puzzle of the great conspiracy. Is there a crime lord behind everything in the undercity, and who is this person? At first she tries to achieve these goals by working within the system that Piltover has set up, by becoming an enforcer. But the system confines her. It doesn't play into Caitlyn's strengths. She wants to be a detective, and she's good at it, being intelligent and intuitive, so she starts breaking the rules to achieve her goals. It starts slowly by disobeying her boss, but when the system, including her parents and even Jace, once again overrule her for her own good and she loses her job, she has had enough. In order to find answers and to prove that she is not destined for living behind a desk, and that she is more than her mother's daughter, she basically runs away and starts to work outside the system, even going so far as breaking the law. And by releasing Vi from prison and traversing the undercity with her, she finds the answers and comes far in her bucket list. She proves herself by finding someone to help who can also help her. She finds out who the crime lord is, who stole the gem, and how she can help the undercity. So far, so good. So what does she want at the council meeting? 1. Stop the cycle of violence and create peace between Piltover and the undercity. 2. Make Piltover and the council take responsibility for their actions. 3. Help the undercity and its people, the Firelights and Vi in particular. 4. Stop Silco and Shimmer. Some of these are quite lofty and idealistic aspirations that probably require a bit more work than just one audience with the council. But Caitlyn has a big heart and an altruistic outlook. She aims for the stars and we can't help loving her for it. Well, I can't. When it comes to Vi, there are basically only 2 things on her list that are rather obvious. 1. Reunite with and save her sister. 2. Get revenge on Silco and his followers.
I'm gonna find her and erase whatever fucked up delusions you put in her head, but first, I'm gonna bring your bullshit empire down all around you.
That's basically it. Vi used to have the objective of getting a better life for her sister and herself through opposing the Piltover system of oppression, but this has been pushed aside by the more pressing issues on her list, which incidentally is also why a certain someone has had the opportunity to get under her guard. There's very little room for Vi herself in her plans for the future. She really is a tragic hero. These 2 objectives overrule all else, and up until the council meeting, it is all about finding Powder. She wants to reconnect with her, and in the process, she can get revenge on Silco and his goons for betraying and killing Vander, Milo, and Clagger. But gradually, she finds out that saving her sister is not easy. In fact, it is extremely difficult because Powder's trauma weighs so heavily on her, and because of Silco's influence on her. This in turn spurns Vi's need for revenge on Silco, because she cannot seem to reach Powder without taking him out first. Arguably, Vi has the secondary goals of getting rid of Shimmer and helping Echo and his Firelights, and through them the Undercity in general. but again she feels these can be achieved only after taking out Silco. So when Vi goes into the council chamber, there is one thing she hopes to achieve: get the council's help with taking out Silco. In her mind, this is the only way she can save Powder. As for her methods, does Vi want to kill Silco? Part of her probably does, but we've seen so far in all her fights that she does not fight to kill, unlike Savika and Jinx. So punch him and lock him up seems to be the method going forward at this point. So Vi and Caitlyn are working together, but their goals are not really that well aligned, only on the stopping Silco part. And it seems that their methods of stopping him are quite different too. When Caitlyn enters the room, her head is held high. She has returned triumphantly, proving her worth as a detective and an enforcer. She's even put the uniform back on, though that is also a ploy to gain the ear of the councillors. She has proved her conspiracy theory to be true, and she has rooted out Silco's corruption in Piltover, Marcus. She tries to make the councillors feel sympathy or guilt as she describes Vi and her situation in life. She's trying to set a good example by taking on responsibility when she says,
"Even though we failed her in countless ways, she risked everything to show me what life is really like down there."
She wants them to help the undercity and Vi, not ignore them as they've done so far. But Caitlyn is back to working within the system of Piltover, and despite her words being careful and sincere, they don't really work. Because before she can say much of anything else, Jace interrupts and asks about Jinx. And from there it all goes downhill. Caitlyn didn't plan to or prepare for talking about Jinx. This is clear from her hesitation. She's not sure whether to lie, say nothing, or tell the truth. It seems Caitlyn and Vi didn't agree on an approach here. I love Vi's little hand grab though. It shows that even though the two didn't plan for this, they are still a united front, and Vi immediately understands Caitlyn's hesitation. But the lack of plan is a problem, because though Vi steps in and gives them Jinx's name, it is now the councillors who are leading the discussion. And they are worried about Jinx, the gemstone, Shimmer, and about their own safety. They don't care about the plight of the undercity. Nothing Caitlyn has said has made any difference to their actions concerning the undercity. Not yet, and not enough. Caitlyn is surprised by how Jace advocates aggression against Silco in the undercity, so we get confirmation here that she doesn't want war or aggressive confrontation with Silco. She wants to arrest him. But how can she do that without aggression? Does she have a plan for that? Would her original plan of taking the gemstone to Jace have worked in light of this new aggressive side in him? Or is this aggression only caused by the absence of the gemstone? It's hard to tell for Caitlyn, but once again, Jinx, the instrument of fate, has intervened, indirectly for once, and made this redundant. Once Jinx was brought up on the meeting, things went sideways and out of Caitlyn's control, despite the good beginning. At the meeting, Vi lets Caitlyn do the talking, at first at least, because this is Caitlyn's turf, and she presumably knows how to approach the council, especially with the mother's introduction. That seems to have been part of a plan, and a smart one at that. Vi looks rather sad at the meeting, and I've wondered a lot about why that is. In my other video about Vi, I interpreted that this was because she was saying goodbye to her former life and entering a new one, likely without Powder. Well, since I've started to dig into this confusing council scene, I've come up with another interpretation, which I now think is a little more likely. Vi is, in a sense, saying goodbye to her old life, because she has now put herself in a position pitted against the undercity. She is now hoping to work with Piltover, something she had forsworn not long ago. Caitlyn has changed this outlook in life for her, both because it seems that at least some Pilties are not as bad as first assumed, but also because she has found in Caitlyn the most wonderful and loving woman anyone could ever hope to find. Where was I? Having said this, however, I also don't think Vi has decided to say goodbye to her life with Powder. She has not given up on her or the Undercity in general.
She still needs you. They all do.
Her approach to getting her sister and the Undercity back is just different. As mentioned before, instead of going straight to her sister, which has failed so far, she wants to take out Silco first. And she needs Piltover and the Council's help with that, so she will try to cooperate with them. So again, why is Vi sad? She should be determined and focused and perhaps even a little hopeful. Not only does she now have access to a powerful body that can help her against Silco, but she suddenly also has something new and hopeful on her bucket list, if a little further down. Caitlyn. We see Vi's surprise at Caitlyn's open praise, the blatant proof that Caitlyn has no problem with being seen as admiring Vi. This makes a real relationship with her a distinct possibility. It is within Vi's reach. But Caitlyn's words don't make her happy or hopeful. Vi's looking down, her expression that of defeat and complete sadness. So here's my theory. I think Vi is sad because she has already, before the meeting, made the choice not to pursue anything with Caitlyn. All the choices made her because Vi's sense of obligation towards her sister completely outweighs everything else. Even though Vi has fallen for Caitlyn, she doesn't think the relationship can happen. For one thing, because it doesn't align with her other objectives. She knows, for example, that Jinx carries a lot of animosity towards Caitlyn. Another thing is the fact that going against Silco will be extremely dangerous, and she wants to protect Caitlyn from that. Again, we see the tragic hero in Vi, carrying all that responsibility on her shoulders, trying to fix things for everyone else, and hurting people in the process, including herself. The fact that she has made this decision beforehand also makes the rain scene with Caitlyn outside make more sense. The fact that she can just dismiss Caitlyn so abruptly. If Powder is the ultimate objective and concern, then sacrifices have to be made.
Forget me, okay?
Apart from the sadness emanating from Vi in the beginning, so far there's been no reaction to what any of the councillors say. But when Jace says we have Hextech, we can see Vi looking down as if considering the possibilities of Hextech in an all-out confrontation with Silco. This is definitely why she's at the meeting. This is also the moment that shows her that Jace is the one to go to for assistance against Silco. She and Caitlyn are not on the same page anymore, indicated also when Caitlyn says, "What happened to you?" to Jace, which shows how Caitlyn thinks Jace would previously have preferred a non-violent approach. The next time we see Vi is when she realizes that the council, apart from Jace, want to negotiate, which she is totally against. She thinks that negotiation will not be an option with Silco. She sees him as a vicious and unscrupulous, power-hungry psychopath, and therefore negotiation is not an option at all, because he wouldn't go for it, which incidentally turns out to be untrue. But then again, does Vi herself want to negotiate with him? No, because this also means that his influence on Powder would continue. Neither Powder nor the Undercity would be free of him. So she launches into an aggressive rant about Silco, which doesn't have the desired effect on the council. They don't like to be yelled at. It would have been nice to see Caitlyn's reaction to Vi's rant, but we only see her after Vi is told to leave, and the meeting, therefore, is over. Here, her reaction is not about herself. Caitlyn's not showing outrage at being thrown out. It is all about Vi. Regret and sorrow at the unfortunate outcome of the meeting. Then we get the interesting look between Caitlyn and her mother. This is, in my opinion, not a "go get her" nod, but a nod that indicates something like, "Good work, Caitlyn. I see now what you can do. You did your best." Which Caitlyn catches the meaning of. Caitlyn's mother may not have warmed to the Undercity much, but she understands her own daughter better now. How tragic if this is the last time they ever see each other. Caitlyn runs after Vi in the hopes of continuing both their quest together and their budding romantic attachment, but sadly Vi shoots down both. As mentioned before, she is on the warpath, and where she's going next is best without Caitlyn. Vi says that topside and bottom can't work together by comparing them to oil and water. In light of what Vi and Caitlyn have already achieved so far, this sounds a little off to me. Also, because while Vi's saying this, she's actually planning to approach a counselor to work together right afterwards. So does Vi really believe what she's saying? Or is she feeding Caitlyn a line that will draw a line between them for Caitlyn's own good? And I'm sorry to say this, but Vi probably knows that Caitlyn would object rather strongly to an offensive alliance between Vi and Jace. So Vi chooses not to have Caitlyn present when meeting with Jace. Definitely not Vi's finest moment, but I totally understand why she does it, even if I don't like it. Oh Vi, your deep-seated sense of responsibility instilled in you by Vanda certainly weighs heavily on those broad shoulders of yours. You deserve a better fate, and it's right in front of you if you have the courage to let someone else shoulder the burden with you. And poor Caitlyn, you came so close to ticking off all the boxes on your bucket list, including the box you never imagined would be there. And now most of it has come tumbling down. I certainly understand the anger, regret, and frustration we see in you later. I actually find it quite funny that Caitlyn says in the rain scene that they can make a new plan, because what was the first one? Was it all in her head? Nothing at the council audience indicates that they actually had a carefully laid out plan. Caitlyn's mother actually recommended that Caitlyn and Vi prepare for the meeting, make a plan. But in my opinion, they did no such thing. They did not seem coordinated in their approach at all, with the possible exception of letting Caitlyn speak first. They had different goals and different methods for how to achieve those goals, if they even had any methods figured out at all. So, what were they doing all afternoon before the meeting? There's been loads of speculation and theories as to what happened in that bed after we leave them, some of them quite racy. This is also because the writers of Arcane have hinted very ambiguously at what could have happened in that bed. Why? Well, to raise interest and anticipation for Season 2, of course. And to reaffirm that, yes, Vi and Caitlyn are on the romantic path, not the friendship path. My theory? I don't think much of anything happened in that bed. Nothing that we're going to see later in a flashback. Firstly, because if they had cemented their relationship with a kiss or a roll in the hay, the Rain breakup scene doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if you've started something, then why run off without saying goodbye? Why no touches of goodbye or expressions of remorse? Vi doesn't seem to be the type to take advantage of Caitlyn. She's not a love him and leave him kind of woman. And when it comes to Caitlyn, I think she would have grabbed on for dear life, demand an explanation for Vi doing one thing and then another. I think the line "wasn't meant to be" means it hasn't happened yet. Incidentally, I also think it means that they are meant to be. Of course, I can't rule anything out, which is also why the writers of Arcane did it in this way. It really excites the audience's imagination. But we actually get a scene later in the episode where Caitlyn has flashbacks to previous events with Vi. And it is my argument that if Vi and Caitlyn had kissed, that would definitely feature in Caitlyn's thoughts in the shower. Right? So, what were they doing all afternoon? Sleeping. Yup. They probably took a nice long, way overdue nap. They've had no real sleep for 3 to 4 days straight. All the rest they've had before that moment has been when knocked unconscious. This is the first place where they've felt safe enough to relax and let their guard down. Vi is in such a vulnerable state that I really don't think she's up for fooling around. Exhaustion most likely took hold, and all they had time for after was to clean themselves up a bit. Now, don't get any more racy ideas about the shower. Well, I think that's enough speculation about something we don't see. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, please give me a like and a subscribe, and I'd love to hear your comments too. But before I say goodbye, I'd like to say a heartfelt thank you to all of you for the great reception you've given my videos. I am overwhelmed by the amount of views and subscribes. I'd especially like to thank those who've commented on my videos. I've enjoyed corresponding with you immensely, and you have inspired me further in my interpretations. I've even borrowed quite a few of your ideas for this video, and therefore a special shout out goes to Bye.